I paid my sibling, Leslie, and her fiancé's lodging for years, only to learn they mocked me behind my back. I cut them off, and karma hit. Yes, you heard that correctly, lodging. It wasn't as if they pro-VY-dead me with a place to reside. It was the opposite. I was sending them due la $800 each month to assist pay their home. It all began roughly 3 years ago. Leslie and her fiancé, Ethan, were going through a difficult time financially. They were drowning in debt, and I could tell they were too proud to seek help. I had recently taken a job teaching high school. The salary wasn't terrific, but I wasn't married and didn't have any children I thought I could afford. What's the point of VYing siblings? I offered to help them for a bit until they could get back on their feet. They were grateful, or so I thought. However, the interim arrangement dragged on. A month turned into 6 months turned into 12, and then it hit me. 3 years of VYing money every month without fail. I restructured my entire life around it. No large purchases, no trips, simply leave VYing frugally to keep things going. Still, I did not complain. I knew I was doing the correct thing. Family comes first, always. Then followed the wedding announcement. They were finally getting married after all these years, and I thought, okay, this is a watershed moment. I secretly wished they'd tell me they didn't need my assistance anymore. Instead, Leslie called me one day and asked if I could help with her wedding expense. I'll never forget that call. I hesitated for a long time before telling her no. Leslie, I already send you due la $800 a month. I can't do more than that, I told her. She became silent. I'm not sure what she wanted me to say, but I needed to draw the line somewhere. Dad's birthday, the truth emerges. Fast forward 2 months to my father's birthday. We held a large family gathering at Grandma's place. It was the usual chaos. Tons of food, kids running around, and folks debating whose barbecue sauce was superior. Leslie and Ethan appeared carefree. We were all in excellent spirits, enjoying beverages and discussing old family stories. Everything appeared normal. Toward the conclusion of the event, my grandmother approached and caressed my arm. "Clint, can we talk outside for a minute?" she said gently. I didn't think much about it. Grandma is known for her little heart-to-heart conversations. It could be life, advice, or simply a word of encouragement. I believe she was going to encourage me to settle down. She was always wondering when I was going to find a good girl and start a family. We strolled onto the porch, which was quieter. She looked around to ensure no one was listening in. Then she said something that struck me like a punch to the belly. "They made fun of you," she replied quietly. "Who?" I inquired, wondering. "Leslie and Ethan. They laughed behind your back." I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" She paused before speaking. "They think you're stuck in life, that you'll never have a family of your own, that you're wasting your time trying to help them. They joke about how much you sacrifice while you live alone and struggle to be a teacher." I felt a tightness in my chest. I could not believe it. I had given so much for it, and this is how they perceived me, some kind of loser who should be pitied and mocked at. I stood there in silence, taking in her words. Grandma stared at me with sad, knowing eyes. "Clint, you're a good man," she added softly, "but you don't have to let them treat you like this. They're taking advantage of your kindness." I nodded, still stunned. What should I do with this information? Confront them in front of everybody? Ruin the evening? No, I was not going to let them have the satisfaction of seeing me rattled. Instead, I went back inside, smiled, and pretended everything was fine. I even clinked glasses with Ethan when we celebrated Dad's birthday. However, within, everything had altered. I realized I couldn't continue VYing like this. Did they think I was a joke? Fine. Let's see how hilarious things get if the money stops rolling in. I wasn't going to lose my cool. I'd play it smart and keep it elegant, but they were soon to discover that I was no pushover. The fallout begins. The morning following Dad's birthday party, I awoke early, still thinking about what Grandma had said. Part of me wanted to call Leslie immediately and confront her, but I opted not to. I needed time to contemplate. Instead, I went about my usual business. Coffee, lesson preparations, and grading papers, business as usual. About a week later, Leslie called me. "Hey, Clint, just checking in," she remarked cheerfully as if nothing were wrong. "Hey," I said, maintaining a neutral tone. She began droning on about wedding plans, flowers, guest lists, and an issue with the caterer. I let her speak for a while, then she casually mentioned money. "Oh, and Ethan was wondering if you could send this month's lodging a little early. We have a few things coming up." I had to fight myself not to chuckle. "Yeah, about that. I'm actually going through some financial stuff myself," I commented. "I won't be able to send the money this month." There was a pause. "Wait, you mean just this month, right? You'll still help us after that?" I don't know, Leslie. I've been helping for 3 years. I might need to focus on my own situation for a while. She remained silent for a moment. Then I noticed her voice thicken. Clint, are you serious? We're counting on this money. Yeah, well, I was counting on my family not laughing behind my back. Another prolonged stillness. I didn't elaborate, and she never asked what I meant. Instead, she uttered a stiff okay and abruptly terminated the that marked the beginning of the fallout. The family pressure. 2 weeks have gone by. I didn't hear from Leslie again, but I knew something was up. Then, one night, my mom called me unexpectedly. Clint, I just talked to Leslie, she said, and I could see she wasn't happy. She says you stopped helping her with her bills. What's going on? I exhaled. Mom, I've been sending them due $800 a month for 3 years. It's not like I owe them any. Well, yeah, but they are family. And Leslie said you've been acting distant. Did she also mention that they've been making fun of me behind my back? I asked her. That silenced her for a second. What are you talking about? I told her what Grandma said. For a time, there was only astonished stillness on the other end. Finally, she spoke again, this time in a gentler voice. Clint, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. You've done more for them than anyone could have expected. If they're treating you like this, I understand why you're upset. It was a relief to hear her say that, but I knew things were going to get ugly. The confrontation. Sure enough, a few days later, Ethan called me unexpectedly. Hey, Clint, he said, his tone forced but courteous. Leslie's really upset. I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding. Is that right? I asked, maintaining my composure. Yeah, man, I don't know where you're getting these ideas, but we've never said anything bad about you. You've been great to us. Oh, so Grandma just made that up? I inquired honestly. Ethan stammered for a second. Look, if she said something, it was probably twisted. You know how old people can exaggerate. I didn't believe it for a second. You know what, Ethan, let's not pretend. I'm done with the money. You guys are on your own. I hope the wedding goes well. I hung up before he could argue. Grandmother's revelation. The Real kicker arrived a few days later when I received a call from Grandma herself. Clint, honey, can you come over? I have something to show you, she said to him. Curious, I went to her residence. She walked me into her study and gave me an old family photo album. I was going through some things and found these, she explained with a slight smile. I flipped through the pages and came across a collection of childhood images of me, Leslie, and Ethan. Then, I noticed something unexpected. A letter slipped between the pages. It was from more than 20 years ago, before I was even born. Grandma, what is this? I questioned, pulling it out. Read it, she replied softly. The letter came from my late grandfather, and it detailed a hidden trust fund he had established for his grandchildren to be distributed equally unless one is found to be abusing the family. Leslie and Ethan don't know about this. Grandma continued quietly, but I think you should. I sat there startled. It wasn't simply about money anymore. This was about setting boundaries, and perhaps karma was about to catch up with them. The fallout escalates. Grandma showed me the letter, and I had a lot to think about. My late grandfather had established a trust fund for all of us, but she did not disclose how much money was in it. She made it obvious that no one else in the family knew, not Leslie, Ethan, or my parents. Why are you telling me this now? I questioned her. Grandmother gave me a knowing glance. Because I want you to understand something. You're not the failure they make you out to be. You've worked hard, sacrificed for others, and shown more integrity than most people ever. This fund, it was meant to reward people like you. I nodded carefully, absorbing her words. I didn't want to rush into anything based on this new information, but it was comforting to know that I had some concealed leverage. Leslie and Ethan panicked. The drama became more intense during the next week. Leslie and Ethan were panicking. I learned through the family grape. I believe limiting their monthly allowance affected them harder than I expected. Ethan's work hours had been reduced, and Leslie was having difficulty paying some of the wedding pro dues. I assumed they would figure out. Instead, they began attempting to guilt other family members into GIVYing them. It backfired spectacularly. My mother stated to one of her sisters that I had been financially supporting Leslie and Ethan for several years. Word spread immediately. Everyone in the family found out pretty quickly. My aunt, Penny, who never holds back, supposedly ripped into Leslie during a family function I wasn't even attending. You let Clint pay your bills for 3 years, and now you're playing the VY, Tim? Are you serious? She allegedly said. Leslie loses it. Leslie called me later, enraged. What the hell, Clint? Did you tell everyone about the money? No, I said quietly. I only told one person, and you brought this on yourself. Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? She asked. Leslie, I think you have bigger problems than embarrassment. I told you. Maybe look in the mirror and ask yourself why you believed it was acceptable to treat me. She did not have a response. I assumed that was the end of it. But Ethan decided to push things. He must have been desperate because he showed up unexpectedly at my school one afternoon. He waited for me in the parking lot. Clint, we need to talk, he replied, trying to seem calm but clearly agitated with, about what, I asked, crossing my arms. Look, man, Leslie has been crying nonstop. People are turning against us. We just want to make things right, he explained. Oh, you want to make something right now, after 3 years of taking my money while laughing behind my back? I shake my head. No, thank you, Ethan. I am done being your safety net. His cheeks reddened. You act as if we intended to hurt you. It wasn't like this. So how was it, Ethan? I interrupted. Explain to me how ridiculing someone who helps you isn't intended to hurt them. He did not have a positive response. Instead, he muttered something about how everything was a misunderstanding and walked out. Dad steps in. Later that night, I received a call from my father. He rarely participates in drama, so I knew this was serious. Clint, he explained, I had a lengthy conversation with Leslie and Ethan. They're struggling right now, but they regret how they treated you. That's good. I replied frankly, but I'm not interested in fixing things right now. They need to solve their own difficulties. Dad exhaled. Look, I'm not saying you're incorrect. You've been more than generous, but maybe it's time to sit down and have serious conversation. Clear the air. I thought for a moment. I'll think about it, I finally said, but deep down, I was not in a forgiving mood. They had been using me for several years. They'd have to prove they deserve another opportunity, and I wasn't going to make things easy for them. Our family meeting. About a week following my father's call, I received an invitation, handwritten. That was odd. It came from Leslie. She asked me to meet her and Ethan at a coffee shop near their house for a family meeting. I contemplated going, but curiosity got the better of me. I assumed I'd listen to them despite my low expectation. When I arrived, the cafe was almost completely vacant. Leslie and Ethan were already there, looking a little overly prepared. Leslie wore a phony smile, and Ethan fidgeted with his phone. Leslie remarked, "Hey, thanks for coming," as I sat down. "Sure, what is this about?" I asked, keeping it brief. Leslie took a big breath. "Look, we'd simply like to apologize. We shouldn't have talked about you that way. It was wrong, and we sincerely apologize." Ethan nodded and joined in. We were agitated and told some horrible jokes. We didn't mean anything serious. I sat back and observed them. It all felt too polished and scripted. "Okay," I said, "but let me ask you a question. If Grandma hadn't told me, would you have ever apologized?" They froze for a second. Leslie looked at Ethan, who swiftly spoke. "Of course, we would have eventually." I chuckled. "Right, sure." They shifted uncomfortably. That's when Leslie revealed the true reason for the meet, the favor. "Clint, we need a favor," she explained cautiously. There it was. I almost laughed aloud. "Let me guess, you need money?" "Not exactly," Leslie responded nervously. "We need you to co-sign a loan for us." I stared at her like she had a second head. "Are you serious?" "We've struck a hard patch," Ethan explained, "and we just need some help refinancing the house. If you co-sign, we'll obtain a better rate, and we'll handle the rest. You would not have to pay anything." I couldn't believe what I heard. "You got to be kidding me," I responded. "You think I'm going to put my name on a loan for you after all this? Are you listening to yourself right now?" Leslie's face reddened. "We are not trying to take advantage of you. We're working to make things right." I shook my head in astonishment. "You don't solve problems by begging for more handouts. You fix things by accepting responsibility for your own lives." Ethan threw his hand down on the table. "You're being unreasonable, Clint. We are family." I laughed bitterly. "Exactly. And family members do not treat each other like dirt. You're on your own." I got up, tossed a couple of bucks on the table for my coffee, and went out without saying anything. The bombshell. A few days later, the unexpected news broke. Grandma called me, sounding shaken. "Clint, you should come over right away. It's important," she remarked. When I got to her house, she handed me an envelope with my name on it. Inside was a letter from the bank regarding the trust fund. Leslie and Ethan had apparently caught wind of it and were attempting to demand a larger share, claiming that I had withheld family assets. "They went to a lawyer," Grandma said, her voice shaking with fury. "They say you hid the trust fund from them, even though you didn't know about it recently." I was stunned. "You got to be kidding me. They are desperate, Clint. They're grasping for straws," she remarked, "but this is low even for them." Then it struck me, they weren't only struggling, they were sinking, and now they're willing to throw me under the bus to save themselves. "I'm not going to let them get away with this," I stated forcefully. Grandma smiled a little sadly. Good. It's about time someone teaches them a lesson. An unexpected call. I wasn't done being surprised, though. The next morning, I received a call from a lawyer representing Leslie, and I readied myself for a heated argument. But the lawyer sounded unexpectedly sorry. Mr. Daniels, he replied, I wanted to inform you that my clients have chosen to abandon their complaint. They'd like to handle the situation privately. Withdraw their claim. Why? There was an awkward moment. Let's just say some fresh information has surfaced about their financial predicament. I believe they knew they were in no position to pursue it legally. I couldn't help wondering what had happened. Later that day, I heard from Aunt Penny. Apparently, Ethan was sacked when someone anonymously claimed that he had been embezzling minor quantities of company money. To make matters worse, the bank flatly refused their loan application, citing credit worries. Karma had struck them severely, and I had not even moved a finger. Leslie's final attempt. A few days after the trust claim disaster, I was still processing everything when Leslie texted me, "We should talk, please." I ignored her. The next day, she showed up at my residence unexpectedly. She was pacing outside my building when I returned home from work. I sighed and stepped out of the car. "What do you want, Leslie?" I asked, already fatigued. She appeared frustrated. "Clint, I didn't realize Ethan was going to go this far with the lawyer. I swear I did not want this." "Did he panic?" I scoffed. "You were both perfectly happy attempting to rip me off with that trust fund." She stared down at her feet and did not refuse it. "I'm sorry. Okay. We've just been under so much stress. The wedding expenses, the house, everything is coming apart." I folded my arms. "You know who's at fault, right?" I shot back. "Perhaps you wouldn't be in this situation if you hadn't relied on me for so long." She winced and then unexpectedly added, "You're correct, but I have no one else to turn to." I looked at her in bewilderment. "You don't understand, do you? I am done. I gave you years of my life and thousands of dollars, and you just laughed behind my back. Now you came here expecting me to save you. Clint, you're my sibling," she whispered quietly. "We're supposed to look out for each other." "Yeah. Where was that support when you and Ethan made fun of me? When did you attempt to take it from me?" She did not have a response. I shook my head. "Leslie, I'm finished. This will be our last conversation regarding money, trust funds, anything else. I don't want anything more to do with you or Ethan." Her eyes widened. "You can't simply cut me off like that. We are family. Watch me." With that, I walked inside, Leah VYing her standing. It hurt more than I wanted to admit, but it was enough. Grandma takes a stand. The next day, Grandma called. She had heard everything, and nothing in our family keeps a secret for long. "Clint, I want you to know something," she stated. "I've decided I'm not going to talk to Leslie or Ethan anymore, at least not for a long time." I was startled. "Grandma, you don't have to do that for me." "I do," she stated firmly. "You've been nothing but wonderful to them, yet they attempted to betray you. If they don't respect you, they won't respect me. They crossed the line, and I am not going to pretend differently." Hearing that from her meant more than I could express. Aunt Penny's news. A few weeks later, I received another surprise. I ran into Aunt Penny at the grocery store, and she took me aside. "Hello. I heard about everything that happened. I just wanted to tell you how proud I am of you," she said. "Proud of me?" I asked, perplexed. "Yes, you have finally stood up for yourself. Leslie had a knack of manipulating people, but you didn't let her take advantage of you." I laughed. "It wasn't easy, but I couldn't live like that anymore. You did the right thing. By the way, you might want to check in with Grandma. She's making some modifications to the trust fund." That grabbed my attention. "Changes?" Penny laughed. "Let's just say Leslie and Ethan might not be included in the future plan." Grandmother's final decision. When I saw Grandma a few days later, she verified it. "I talked to the lawyer," she added, "and I've determined that if Leslie and Ethan can't demonstrate responsibility and respect, they won't earn their share of the trust. I'm GIVYing them the opportunity to change. But if they don't, the trust will be DVY dead between you and your cousins instead." I was speechless for a moment. "You don't need to do that, Grandma. I do not want any of the money." "I know," she responded, smiling. "That's why you deserve it." Cut ties for good. Following that, I cut off all communication with Leslie and Ethan. No texts, no calls. I banned their numbers and quit dealing with family drama. Things gradually became easier, and I had no idea how heavy my weight was until it was lifted. The actual kicker: Ethan had moved out of the house after losing his job, and their relationship was on the rocks. So Leslie had to return to live with her mother. I wasn't happy about it, but I couldn't ignore the irony. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.